Hello, my name is Mel Brown and this is my first project diary. This is me telling you all about my project to make sleeves for my Less is More cardigan. To talk a bit more about that, just wanted to introduce it with a couple of things. First of all, to warn you, there's a little bit of repetition in it because being a lady of my age, I tend to forget what I've already said. So if I say things a couple of times, I do apologise for that. And the second thing is, this is by no means a how-to or a top tips or a this is how to do it video for anything from dyeing or spinning or anything. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's just showing you that it's okay to experiment with these things and to get it wrong and to have to rethink. So I'm not an expert dyer by any means, certainly not an expert spinner. Just watch with that in mind. So enjoy. Hi, this is the first video in the project diary for the sleeves for my Less is More. So let's show you what the project is. This is a cardigan pattern by Amy King called Less is More, and it's designed for handspun. So I've knitted the body, and this is all handspun, mostly by me. This one and this one is handspun by a friend of mine, and this one is dyed by me, as is this one and this one. So what I'm coming to do now is the sleeves, and the project is to make some yarn that will fit in between this. It's very, very bright in here. This china blue and what I wanted to use for the end of the sleeves, which is this. So I've done a little bit of maths. The sleeve, both sleeve stitches added together is about 80% of the stitches that were on the back. So 100 grams, if I spun it the same way as I spun this green, should go that far and an extra 20%. Here, I think it is. So I think that's going to be most of the sleeves. But I can stop if I think I'm getting too far and switch to this. So what I want to do is to have a colour which kind of bridges the gap between these two. So what I'm going to do is I've got some undyed fibre. I've got two different fibres. I'll have to make a decision about that soon. There's BFL and something else which I will look up. I'll record again on that. So this is going to be on this part of my arm, so probably straight onto bare skin. So I need to make sure it's something that's comfortable for me and soft. So I'm going to find the softest, and then I need to dye it. Now I'm going to talk about my spinning plan later, just the dyeing plan at the moment. So I'm thinking, if I'm looking at my box of Wilton's colours, I'm wondering which is the closest to this blue, and I think it's the royal blue. Or it might be the sky blue. No, it's definitely the royal blue. So I want my yarn to have aspects of this royal blue. Don't think this colour's coming out very well, but that's the concept. And then I want it to have some aspects of this. So there's a deep purpley pink. So I'm going to try and maybe burgundy. Maybe that. Can you see? So some aspects of burgundy and some blue, and that would link the two. Now how exactly I'm going to do that, I don't want little bits of burgundy and little bits of blue. I want longer pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the fibre, and then I'm going to break it into half, and I'm going to dye half of it burgundy and half of it blue, and then I will look at how it's come out and decide what to do next. So I'll come back and talk to you again then when I've done that. Next stop, dyeing. So this is how I tell which is the best fibre to use. You see, I've got a rather interesting shape here. So here I've got some Romney and here's some BFL, and this is my best test to see if it's going to irritate me. It's very delicate skin here, and if it doesn't irritate me here, it won't irritate me elsewhere. On first touch, I would say the BFL is softest, but neither of them is causing me a problem yet. So I think I'm going to go with the BFL. So here it is. I've folded it in half. It's a bit shaggy at that end, but it's more or less half. I'm just going to break it there. And I'm going to go dry now. So I've got about 2 litres of boiling water. And I can use my normal pans because I'm just using food colouring. And I've put a teaspoon of citric acid in. My dyeing guru, Rebecca from Chemnitz, always uses what's the word? Vinegar. But I actually hate the smell of vinegar, so I never use it. Use citric acid instead. So that's coming up to a boil. So I'm just going to make up the dye. What am I going to do? Probably 1/4 teaspoon of the dye and a little bit of hot boiling water to get it moved on from being a gel. And then I'm going to add it to the pot. We're going to do the blue first, and I'll film that in a second. So here's my dye. It's all mixed in now. And the next thing I need to do is put the lid back on the dye. As you can see, I've already got stuff on it. So although I want quite a saturated effect, I don't mind if it's slightly tonal. That's fine with me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the colour now. Actually, I'll turn the camera around and do that. As good as it's going to get, so I'll give that a little rinse. Okay. Now, I'm actually going to turn the heat off, and then I'm going to put the fibre in. So, here we go. Here it is, and in it goes. Like that. Let's give it a push. Just a gentle push. Agitation plus heat tends to equal felting. So, not agitating, just gently pressing. There we go. Okay. So, the heat is already off. I'm going to leave it there for 20 minutes and see what happens. Okay, so it's been 20 minutes. Let's have a look at what's happened. There it is. See, the colour has gone through. I'm just going to find out how much. It's not always easy to see how much colour's left in the water. I'll grab this. Very little. So, at this point I'm going to very carefully move it out of there and pop it on the lid. Oh, it looks like there's some tonality there, look. A bit. I'm going to pop it on there. There we go. And that can sit and dry and cool off a little bit. Oh, look, I've made a Guinness cake. Right, okay, on with the next one. So, there's very little water left, colour left in this, so I'm just going to add the other colour, and we'll see how the next lot takes. It looks like a really strong Ribena right now. I'm going to put it in as the water's heating up again. So you can see some spots down there. Actually, it picks up better on the camera than it does to the naked eye. That's interesting. Give that a good mix as it's warming up. Okay, it's coming to the boil now. I'm just going to turn that off. I don't like it to be boiling too hot. I'm such an amateur here that I don't want to take any risks. In it goes. I'm going to poke it in as before. And then I'm going to let it sit for 20 minutes again. That is a good colour. So after 20 minutes, let's see. Yeah, all the colour's gone. Okay, so I'm going to fish that one out as well and put it with the other one. Oops. So I've been out for a few hours at knit group and I'm just home and I'm looking at my fibre, which is all cooled now. So I'm just working out what I want to do with it because, let me show you. Here's the blue. I like the tonality of it, dark bits, light bits, whatever, so I'm quite happy with that. The burgundy, it's not quite as saturated as I wanted it. There are a few lighter bits. Don't know. Okay, I'm going to give them both a wash. So a gentle wash in some cold water with a little bit of wool wash in it, you can, and just see if any colour comes out of them. And then I might just let them dry because they look different when they're dry, and then check I haven't felted them because, you know, always a risk, and just see whether I like the colour. I'll show you them when they're done. Hello. So I've got the fibre dry and it's not felted, which is great. So what do we do first? We do the blue first. Here's this. Trying to shut out enough light so it doesn't blow out. So you can see there's some more saturated parts and some less, but there is no parts that have got no colour. And that kind of tonal dyeing is absolutely fine for me. You can see what's happened here is, because I put the fibre in dry, it's absorbed into, the colour's absorbed in at slower, less static rate, which is absolutely fine. If I wanted it to be all the same colour, then I would have soaked the fibre first, but I'm not bothered about that. The burgundy is like that. So it is a pretty deep red. I'm really happy with that. I'll just do a little video of it with the project as well. So here's the top of the sleeve here. Here's the blues and the reds that we're going to have for the middle of the sleeve, and that's what I intend to finish the sleeve with. So I think I've fairly well picked up the different colours there. Now I'm sat on the floor. Okay, so now I'm going to take you over there. So that works pretty well. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to spin it. So for those of you who aren't familiar with spinning,
Generally, when we spin something like this, we don't just spin it into one long fibre and then knit with it. Just like if you're knitting with normal yarn or crocheting with normal yarn, it isn't always a single. It's often a plied yarn. So there's 2, 3, 4 different plies. So different single threads spun around each other, twisted around each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spin 2 threads and I'm going to ply them together. That's what I've done for the rest of the cardi. So thinking about colours, if I spun all the blue and then spun all the red, I would then twist them together, and what I would have is a whole ball of red and blue. Marled, you know, that sort of barbershop pole look when the colours are wrapped around each other. Now that's okay, but I'm not going to get the effect of the blue and of the red. I'm going to get this marled effect. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to break the fibre, the blue fibre, into half weight-wise and the red fibre into half weight-wise. Then I'm going to break it down into strips of roughly the same weight. So the length isn't a very good indicator because if I stretch it out it'll get longer. So of roughly similar weight chunks of red and blue. So with my 1/2 I'm going to spin a red chunk, then a blue chunk, then a red chunk, then a blue chunk, and I carry all the way through, and then I'll start a new bobbin and I'll do the same with the second half, and then I'll ply the 2 of them together. Now as I started with the same colour, the first thing that's going to happen is, let's say I start with a blue, is I'll have some blue yarn. It's got blue yarn, the blue single plied with blue single. It will be blue. It may be slightly tonal because I might get some of the darker one plied with some of the lighter one, but it doesn't matter. It'll be a blue yarn. At some point, one of those singles will switch to red. And it's unlikely they'll both be exactly the same point because of the inconsistencies of spinning. So I'll have a little patch of marl where I've got, as I said, the red and the blue overlapping around each other. And then the second one will switch to red and I'll have a red section. And it'll carry on like that. And it may be that those little marl sections are quite small. It may be that they get bigger if I've spun more inconsistently than I expect to. It may be those marl patterns periods are actually quite long, but it doesn't actually matter to me. I don't know what the marl ones will look like from a distance, you know, close up. Oh, that's a bit of blue and a bit of red. But if you stand back, it may look purple. Who knows? So we'll see how that goes. And then that should give me about 100 grams of fibre of yarn to then start the sleeves with. So I will show you me next spinning it. So here we go. I've decided to exert a little less control over the project than I had thought. In each bag I have broken the blue fibre into 6 chunks and the red fibre into 6 chunks. But rather than weighing them as I thought I might, I've actually just broken them up. I figured that would just give me a little bit more randomness. And here I am. This is actually the first time that I have dyed something specifically with a spinning technique in mind. So that's quite exciting, and this is the first time I've spun BFL as well. So here we go. There we go. Have a look at it. I've kept the blue and the pink, the red separate so you can see. Okay, I have wound both singles. And what I should do now is leave them for 24 hours, because you should use singles for at least leave singles for at least 24 hours to rest, relax, whatever. But I'm not going to, because I'm just so excited. I can't wait to see how it looks when the reds are together and the red and the blue, and oh, I'm so excited. So I'll see you on the other side. So here's the red with the red. And it's just about to change. So let's have a look at that. It's pretty cool. And now we're on to the blues. That bit is horribly over twisted, but never mind. And now we're on to the blues. So it's pretty exciting. Well, I'm excited. Like that. Very happy with that. So here's a funny thing. You know, I weighed out the fibre and put it in 2 bags, and I spun one bobbin from one bag, one bobbin from the other. So they were equal weights. So the first bobbin has run out, and the second bobbin still has all that on. What is that about? I can only imagine that I must have spun the second bobbin that much finer. But this happens to me all the time, and it's very, very puzzling. So I'll show you the singles, sorry, the yarn on the umbrella. So that those singles that were left over, I've tried to make them into a plying ball. So tried to make them into a ball with a centre and an outer pull, and then try and ply them together. Yeah, it's not going terribly well so far. My cat following me there. Right, so I have plied all the yarn together into, there we go. You can see it's really variable, which is just what you want from hand spun. And it's actually fairly well balanced. When it's twisted together, plied, it can sometimes be quite twisty at this point, but it's actually really well balanced, which is great. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to soak it in a little bit of eucalan. Just wool wash. Do you ever use that when you're blocking? So that's this. I'm going to soak a little bit of that and just off cold water, very slightly warm, for an hour, and then I'm going to thwack it. Do you want to see me thwacking it? I think I'll film it. Have you seen that behind me? Amazing piece of acrylic pouring art. It's huge. So there it is. Okay, sorry, distracted. I will wash it and then I'll thwack it, and you can see me do that. Okay, so it's been a little bit longer than an hour. I forgot about it, and then I got into my PJs, and then that wouldn't have been a good idea. So here it is. It's been soaking for an hour plus 10 or 12, and I'm now going to thwack it. So my understanding of the process is that soaking it is a bit like when you soak something to block it. So if there's a little bit where the twist is a bit tighter and some bits where the twist is a bit looser, the fibres are loosened by the soaking, and it all evens out. So it's a much more even twist. And then what we're going to do is, with it when it's still wet, so it's still got the weight of all that water in it, I'm going to whack it against the bathroom wall. It's a messy job, but it's fun. And what that does is set the twist. So rather than it being the two that are twisted together, but you could easily untwist them, it kind of gives them a bit of impact to bang them together so that they will stay where they are, and will not have that energy in them anymore, so they want to spring apart. That's my understanding of it anyway. So I'm going to take it upstairs now and get my daughter to film me thwacking. Okay, so here we are in the bathroom. I'm just going to get it out of the water. I'm not going to let too much water come out of it. And I'm going to take my glasses off because otherwise they get very wet. So I'm going to grab a tie, a black one, and I'm going to thwack. You ready? So I'm going to do 2 in each place, all the way around to the same marker, the same tie again, and there you go. The energy's gone out of it, and now I'll dry it. So it's all dyed, it's thwacked, it's dried, and here it is. So this is going to make the link between this. That's not a good pickie. Don't worry, you better see it in a bit. So I'm just going to start knitting with it now. In fact, I've done 2 stitches, so I'll show you. So these are the blues that I'm hoping will look a little like that, and then the reds on the other side like that. The red's definitely right. It looks really good next to that. I'm not so sure I've got the blues right. What do you think? It's blue anyway. So I'm going to start the sleeves right now. I'll show you some more footage when I've got a bit more in. I'm going to do them both at the same time on a long circular. Okay. Good morning. I thought I would tell you what's happened with the sleeves. I finished doing the knitting of that yarn, and two interesting things have happened. The first one could probably have been predicted, but is quite fun. So, because at the start of the ball I had the two, let me think, the reds together. That's right, isn't it? The reds together, and then the first one changed, but then the second one changed, so there was a little bit of mixed colours, and then the blues. And from then on, the variations became stacked on each other, and by the end of the ball, it was pretty chaotic, whether it was reds together or blues together or a mixture, and there was quite a lot more mixture. And then also, because one of the bobbins ran out before the other, I plied the bobbin that didn't run out back on itself, so that made it even more chaotic. So I've got one ordered end where the colours are, there's a lot of two colours together, and then you've got one chaotic end. Now, of course, I then made a ball out of that, and I knitted one sleeve from the middle, which was the ordered end, and one sleeve from the other end, outer side, which was the chaotic end. I wonder if you can tell which one's which. So it's a really interesting effect, isn't it? Obviously, doing them both together, I've got a lot of jumper in the way. So here clearly is the ordered end, and you can see that I've got a patch of red, then a bit of kind of speckly in between, then the blue, then speckly in between, and now it became a bit chaotic at the end, whereas this just started totally kind of almost like Fair Isle stranded knitting looking, and then it's got slightly more ordered with the occasional row of one colour. So yeah, really interesting. Obviously, if I was trying to go for a matching, hello Clyde, a matching look, then I would be rather disappointed with that, but obviously I'm not, so I don't care. So that's the first thing that happened. The second thing that happened, okay, that didn't go according to plan, did it? You're going to stay still now? The second thing that happened is that the yarn didn't last anything like as long as I thought it would. I was comparing it to the green, the daffodil yarn, which went a long way, because I thought it was a similar weight. Actually, now I remember, John Arbon sent more than 100 grams of the daffodil and actually had less than 100 grams of this BFL from World of Wool. I actually picked it myself and it wasn't quite 100 grams. And possibly I spun it differently, I don't know. So this hasn't gone anything like as far as I expected it to. So that's the sleeve. So what I was going to go on to next, I thought, you can't get the staff, can you? I thought would finish off the sleeve, which is this. So I'm very happy with the way that's gone, the difference between the body and the sleeve, and I'm also very happy with the transition from the sleeve to that. But I'm now fairly confident that that's not going to finish the sleeves. The great thing about this is quite an early spin of mine, and you can see it's really variable. It was a yarn that my friend Linda gave to me, and I spun it fairly early on in my career, so it's lovely and variable, and I think that's going to be brilliant because it's just going to be on my forearm, sort of around my elbow, so I'll see it quite a lot. I think that'll be really nice, a real characterful yarn right there. But that is not going to finish the sleeves, I don't think, because I want them to come full down onto my wrists. So what I thought I would do, at the bottom of the body is this orange. This is the fire colourway that I dyed myself. I thought maybe after I've finished with this, I'll dye something else that's more like the fire colourway. It's not too far from one to the other, is it? sort of pinky purples to orangey reds. I'm sure I can do something that actually bridges the gap between those two, or just, yeah, that looks a lot more similar to this. And then when my arms are down by my sides, the bottom of the cardi and my sleeves will be together and they'll finish on the same colour. I don't know. One thing I love about this project is it's constantly evolving. I'm making guesses, assumptions, and then they're coming into reality and not working as I expect, and I can just adapt. So that's the next plan. I'm going to wind this today, and I really can't wait to see how that knits up, because it's going to be so variable. It's not 100 grams, it's only 92 if I'm from memory, yeah. So again, that's only probably going to cover about as much sleeve as this did. I could decrease at this point. I probably will start decreasing when I join the new yarn. Just I don't like tight sleeves. So I'll do a little bit of decreasing now. And then we'll see where it goes. Okay, I'll see you soon. So I've skeined up that yarn. I said it was early spinning. It is most definitely the worst piece of plying and skeining I have ever seen. It's appalling. I seem to have done part of it, done ties and thwacked it and whatever, and then done another part and then put it all together in a skein. It's absolutely shocking. So there it is. Actually, it looks really pretty there, doesn't it? But it is rustic. That's what it is. So, going out for a walk now. I'm going to start knitting on it in a bit. I'm just knitting with this yarn, and I knew that it was a bit inconsistent, but what the heck happened here? I don't know what that's about. Oh well. Right, so now the that yarn is knitted in. It was a lot thicker than the previous yarn, so it was quite difficult to work with the needles I was using. There it is. Now here you can see just how well I've actually managed to match that red, because this was dyed by somebody else and given to me, and this, everything to the underneath the blue, I dyed. So I dyed this red to match this red. That's pretty cool, isn't it? The blue wasn't so good. I wanted this to kind of match that, but that's okay. But that's amazing, isn't it? So it's really thick and thin in places, which is lovely. It's going to have some great character, and it's quite thick. But now it comes to just about my elbow. So I've estimated another 200 grams, depending on how thinly I spin it, to get to my wrist. So what I'm planning to do is to finish up on something very similar to this. So I need to get from here to here. I'm going to get some advice on that, because as I often say to you, I'm not very good with colours. I do need advice. So I need some advice. I think I'll need 2 skeins, and it just so happens that I've got a skein of undyed Icelandic. Not used that before, but it's very nice. And this is Romney, which is a Kent breed. So they're both from Fibre Hut, both 100 grams. And I have had them stuffed down my top this morning just to make sure they don't irritate me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some advice, and I'm going to dye these 2, potentially in 2 different colourways. And I think I'll probably do something similar to this, where I dye them in 2 or 3 different batches, and then spin them in sort of lines. Yeah, I want, remember this one, quite different. Might try and equalise that so it's not quite as random, but don't know. So that's the next step. Need to get some advice. Hello. Right, I'm ready to dye the next lot of yarn. Got a very meowy cat here, not quite sure why. What's that? Meow. Okay, so I thought for the light pink, Oh, and I didn't tell you that, did I? Talked to my daughters about how to get from what's already on the sleeves to how I want the bottom of the sleeves to be to kind of match the body. And my daughter suggested light pink and dark purple for the next stage, and then see how the rest of it looks. So I thought light pink for half of one of the batches of fibre, and then dark purple. Not really sure how to achieve that. I haven't got any black. I had some and it was horrible. It was all grainy and revolting. So what do you think? A bit of purple violet with a bit of brown? Will that make it a bit darker? So I'll try and make that. I'm going to dye half the fibre in one colour and half in the other, and do something similar to the red and blue from before. And then I think I'll wait to dye the other fibre until I've seen how this comes out and how it knits up. Okay, off we go. So I've got the pink. See, so pay any attention to the state of my kitchen. I've got the pink in there. That's half of the Icelandic. The other half is here. Oh, I'm not really sure about this brown. Let me show you. Kind of a muddy brown. I don't really like it much, although it's got quite a lot of violet in it. I'm not sure whether to put more violet in or just trash it and start again. I think I'll trash it and start again because I really don't want muddy brown. So it looks quite dark purple at the moment. I'm not sure if it will remain that way, but better than the muddy brown, eh? Okay, so we've got both pots on the go, and I'm just going to leave those to cool now and see where it goes. This is one interesting thing about dyeing, I find. Looking at the pot now, it looks as if they're still dyeing it, and it's the same with the red one. But actually there isn't, and you can find out because it's a steel metal pan. It's reflecting the colour of the fibre. It's not the water, so let me show you. Not sure if I showed that very well. It's cooled. There it is. Not exactly light pink, but it is kind of dark purple, so it's all right. Okay, next is to get it dry. Right, so the fibre's dry. Here it is. So, light pink. I don't know, what do you think that's light pink? And dark purple came out fairly well. It's not saturated. There are spots. That's largely because I put the fibre in dry. If I put it in wet, it would have sort of soaked up at a more rapid kind of even rate, and I didn't move it around much either, which is fine. It'll be tonal and quite nice. So this is about 100 grams, so it's 50 grams of each colour, 53 actually. So I'll break each of those into 3. I did 5 or 6 last time, so I want to have slightly longer stretches. So there'll be 3 pinks and 3 purples in each ply. So 3 pinks and 3 purples in the yarn, and let's see how that goes. Okay, so I spun those 2 lots of singles together, and this is a perfect example of how inconsistent my spinning is. So I had 2 lumps of equal weight, and I spun them onto 2 separate bobbins, and when the first bobbin finished, there was still all of that on the second bobbin. It's mad, absolutely mad. That's just how inconsistent I am. Anyway, this is the yarn that it made. So there is actually more barbershop pole stuff, mild stuff, than there is solid colours. But that's just the way it is, that's fine. And then with the stuff that's left over, it happens to be on the Lazy Kate with the aubergine If you haven't seen that, that's episode 34, talking about the bizarre aubergine water yarn I made. So there's aubergine left, and it's not a dissimilar amount to that. So hubby very helpfully suggested, why don't you ply those two together? So I'm going to do that. That's the next step, and then I'll have that to probably be first, and then this, and then whatever I dye for the last bit. So Tour de Fleece is coming up fairly soon, so I really kind of need to get this finished, or I could just incorporate it into Tour de Fleece. Anyway, okay, that's where we are. So change of hair colour, and I have done the plied the aubergine, and it's all very twisty. My plying at the moment seems to be a little bit excessive. There it is. So I'm going to soak that and the other one now. That's how they look together. So I'm going to soak them both now and then thwack them later, and then I'll be able to start knitting with them maybe tomorrow. So last bit of dyeing, I've got my Romney, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it an overall bath in this golden yellow, so it's pretty much all covered in that, and then when that's absorbed I'm going to drop in some orange. So there'll be some orange patches, so it'll be orange and yellow, which will match the base of the bottom of the body part, and hopefully be some interesting variegation. Here it is. Oh, it's got something floating in it, that's not good. Blobs of orange in there now. A bit of a poke around. Hello. Well, it's dyed. It's here. But it's not really what I was looking for. Get it there. There we go. It's, yeah, it's a bit more samey. It's all the same colour. So today I'm going to get my little pack of Easter egg dies from my American friend Kathy, and I'm going to pop a red one in and see how that looks. So there isn't a whole lot of water in there. I want it to be pretty low immersion. Now, colour of these things can be a bit deceptive sometimes, so I'm taking a bit of a risk, but you know how I like to do that. So let's get them in. And then just give them a little prod so they're in the water. I'm not very keen at the moment. I've not seen that happen before. Maybe the water isn't hot enough. It's more like what I was expecting. Well, that didn't come out as I'd wanted either. It's really very little different. There's a few little patches, but the Easter egg dies usually don't do that. You do something quite a bit more interesting. So I've had another look at the bottom, which is how I want it to, the bottom of the body, and I think I'm going to just fire up another another dye pot with some red and dip bits of it in. Yeah, actually I might just break off a few bits and dip a few bits in the red and see how that goes. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Okay, look what I found. I'm going to give that a go. Okay, it's really hard to break it when it's wet. So I've got a right mess going on here. You should see what I'm up to. So there it is, half in and half out the pot. It's dribbling water all over the place. I'm going to have to get something to tidy that up. So you can see it's all calm and organised and under control here. Right, it's done. So it's sour. It's not exactly how I pictured it, but then my dyeing never is. It's kind of like that. Now one challenge with it is I've been messing with it so much. It hasn't, I don't think it's felted. It's just really a bit, a little bit compacted. So before I spin it, I'm going to have to do quite a bit of prep, just kind of opening it out a bit. As I say, I don't think it's felted. It may yet be, but it looks okay. It's just, yeah, it's got wet and dry too many times, and I've messed with it too much, so it's going to need some love and attention. But I shall start spinning that very soon.
Look at the camera.
Okay, so it's done. Here it is. I really like it. I'm calling the colourway Tequila Sunrise. It's a bit obvious, but you know. So it's going to look very similar to the yarn at the bottom of the jumper. So I'm going to start knitting with that today. You're getting all arty, I can tell.
Now you tell me.
Thank you, my lovely. It's too hot now, it's too hot. Thank you.
And the cardigan is finished. So, well, the sleeves are finished. I haven't decided how I'm going to get it to join yet, but I want to show you. There they are. So you can see the bit where we've got the yarn that probably one of my first yarns I ever spun, so it's very lumpy. Yeah. And it's actually, the sleeve's actually thicker there. And you can see how it comes down. I've just put a little garter edge to match, to mirror the can't really show you the bottom of it. I haven't actually decided how yet to fasten it here. I think probably I've got a little clasp, I think, and then let it just flow out. But that's the finished sleeves. So I'm really, really happy with it. It's taken a long time to get to this stage, but when I wear this, it is such a demonstration of what I can do. And I love it. I absolutely love it. Actually, I think I want the clasp to go there. So this drapes down. Anyway, there it is. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already seen my vlog, my fortnightly podcast, have a look at that. If you like this video, give me the thumbs up, give me a comment. What do you think? It's my first project diary video, so I'd be really interested to see what you thought of it. Thank you. Bye.